This is a supplement to a witch's primer, and I originally added this as a supplement to a witch's primer because I continuously receive requests for practical money and prosperity magic, and I am here to help. Many effective money spells are available on my channel and in books, websites, and other YouTube channels. I want to share a type of prosperity magic that I find universally effective. You can trust in the practicality of this approach. It's not a mere hope, it's a certainty. This method perfectly balances the mystical and the pragmatic. You will harness the power of prosperity magic while also training your mind to think and act more prosperously, ensuring that you always have more than enough money. First, we discuss the practicality and power of having a prosperity book, or what I call a book of fortune. And there's going to be some preliminary work that you need to do before you can get into the spell that we're going to talk about today, which is the famous dime spell. So this book is not just any book, but a tool that transforms your financial situation. Anybody serious about amassing wealth should have one. I call it my book of fortune, but you can call it your prosperity grimoire or whatever you want to call it. It's like a book of shadows, but it's dedicated exclusively to prosperity and money. It's a tangible representation of your financial journey as well as your goals, and a tool that you can use to manifest them. One of the foundational principles in all magic is the principle of mentalism. And we talk about this hermetic law of mentalism in several of my lectures. And it's a good one for you to review when you have a chance. We're going to be using the power of the written word to harness the law of mentalism and to eliminate our limiting thoughts and beliefs about money and ensure ourselves a secure and prosperous future. My book of fortune is just a spiral-bound notebook, but you can have it be as witchy as you want it to be. I just don't have a lot of witchy stuff around because I like to be a bit stealth. But you have any kind of book you want, but don't wait so long on your book because you don't have the perfect book. You can always get another book later. Start out with where you are. You can even get some sheets of paper and staple them together for now just to get started. Open to a clean sheet in your book and draw a line right down the center. On the left column, I want you just to do a stream of consciousness dump, where you write down all of your negative financial situations, your negative financial fears, your financial angers, anything that is not nice about money. For instance, you can write down things like, I never have enough money. Every time I get ahead, a major expense wipes me out. I can never seem to get all my bills paid. I'm always in debt. Just write it down and do your best not to edit too much. Just let it come up. Regurgitate it onto the piece of paper on the left column. And then we have something similar to this in our Witchcraft Beyond the Basics course called the Waning Moon Flips. It's a wonderful tool. You're going to transform each one of those thoughts one by one into something better. For example, if your thought was, I'm always in debt, you can change that to the sentence, all my debts are now paid in full, and write that out on the right column. So you're just going to flip each of those negative thoughts around to something more positive, and then write out the new thought in the right column. This process isn't about wishful thinking, but actively reshaping your financial reality in your mind. So you're going to go through one thought at a time and flip each one. Remember that the physical world is a reflection of the mental world, and the thoughts on the left side of your page are indicators of where some of the manifestations of your financial world originate. And since your mental world is your own and you're free to think anything you want to think, you can write down any thought you want on the right-hand side of the page that's an answer to the negative one that you are now releasing. It's a very powerful tool for manifesting anything, but in this case, financial abundance. And you can transform your financial situation by working like this on a regular basis. For now, I would do it daily, but at least do it once or twice a week until you're in the type of financial situation that you want to be in. So we're not even getting into the spell yet. We're laying some groundwork so that you can get the most out of the spell that's coming. This is not a to-do list. We are merely learning how to start changing your thoughts, envisioning how you want things to be in your mind. Don't worry about whether you think it could ever come true. Don't worry about how it might ever happen. Just allow yourself to imagine it. And it's always best when you're coming at something like money where you want to improve your financial condition, start with the negative and let the negative be the inspiration for what you do want. So you're flipping things around into something that you do want. This is how you want money to be for you. And you're doing this in your mental world. Once you've improved a thought, responded to that thought on the right-hand column of your page, cross it out on the left-hand side of the page. Just do a single line to cross it out. And this way you're telling your deep mind that it used to be one thing, but now it's another. I would do a page daily until you don't think that you need to do this anymore, or until your financial situation is so improved that there's nothing else about money that you have to worry about so much. This is an ongoing process until you don't need it anymore. You can always do a little pick-me-up every so often. Okay, the next step is you're going to organize your book. So if you have a large enough book, you want to divide it into sections. You can use a binder if you prefer. One section can be for goals and lists and things that you want. And then there's going to be another section that's for tracking your financial flow. And for at least 30 days, I want you to focus on this financial flow exercise that I'm going to give you. At first, it may seem tedious, but it is a mighty tool that will transform your life financially. It's nothing you have to hope for. You don't have to cross your fingers. It will work. And there's nothing wrong with wanting wealth. There's nothing wrong with wanting a fortune. Your fortune can be anything that you define it. If a fortune means paying all your bills and becoming debt-free, then that's your fortune. If your fortune means manifesting $1 billion, that's your choice. You get to do what you want to do. You can pursue whatever your desires are because you're creating your own magical world. Your goals will change over time, but start with where you are. And you can have a section in your book where you just dream what you want your finances to look like. So commit to 30 days of this money flow exercise. And every single day you need to make at least one entry in this section. It doesn't need to be exact. An approximate summary is absolutely fine. There's nobody that's going to audit this. This is how it works. Throughout the day, you need to know how much money you took in. Somebody gave you a gift, you got some salary, you made tips, whatever it was. Some days you won't receive any money at all, that's fine. But you want to write it down in your book. You put the date, money in, and you put the total. And again, it can be an approximation. It doesn't have to be exact. But if you didn't bring any money in that day, your entry is 0. Then you're going to write an entry for the outflow. What did you spend your money on? Did you go to the drink machine at work? Did you go to Starbucks? Did you, whatever it is. Now, if you use cash, then you're going to want to keep track of those things. But if you use your bank card, you can just look it up and tally that up and write down how much money you spent. There's no judgment. You're not saying, oh, I shouldn't have spent this or I should have made more. No, you're just writing it down. You're just getting your flow, your financial flow in your book of fortune. So record your inflow and record your outflow. It just needs to be once a day, one entry per day. You don't have to itemize it. Now, determine the difference. If you spent more than you earned, it will be negative. So you want to make sure that you are clear. That was a negative income day. And if your inflows are greater than your outflows, it's a positive day. And you'll want to indicate that. So you can put a minus sign next to the date on the negative day and a plus sign on the date next to the positive day. This should only take you a couple of minutes a day. Don't drag it out. Don't make it a drudge. Just notice how much you bring in, notice how much you spend, and notice whether it was a positive day or a negative day in regards to flow. You're just keeping track. After about a week or two of doing that, you'll be able to go back and see trends, and you'll just notice where your money flows in and out. And this is so crucial because magic involves conditioning our deep minds and creating change based on the invisible world. And you need to know what's happening before you know how to change it. Now, if you were doing this kind of exercise with a financial planner, they would then say, so we have to change your spending habits. That's not what we're doing necessarily, unless that's appropriate for you. Some of you may want to do that. What we're doing is getting an idea where you are so that we can start to do magic to increase your inflow or to decrease your outflow, whatever you're desiring. But if you don't know where you are, you can't do the magic for it. You're just doing money spells willy-nilly, and they're not really addressing your financial situation. So you need to have a very clear record of your financial flow so that you can work magic on the flow. Remember, having a fortune really just means having some extra. If you have extra money, you have a fortune. It can be a big fortune or a little fortune, but you have a fortune when you have more money than you spend. Remind yourself of that. It doesn't need to be a big fortune. It just needs to be a fortune. Once you realize what your extra is, or if you have no extra and you're in debt, it's not so much about doing things in the physical world to change it. It's about doing magical things to change it. It's changing your mind, changing the thought forms. So if you want a little extra, you make choices and decisions to create financial magic based upon your needs. For example, aiming to win $7 million in the lottery is okay to do, but it's less powerful. It's much more powerful to do a spell on your financial situation rather than on the lottery. Because you're not limiting your financial income to one very challenging place to get money. You're just saying, I want this in my world, and letting the universe bring it to you in whatever way it needs to. So wherever you are financially, if you want a fortune, you need to start small by saying, I want more income than outflow. And you're doing your spells based on that. And your situation is going to be unique. So how you word your spells will be unique as well. So that's why knowing your inflows and outflows are important, because it helps you to base your magical strategies on sound principles. Those are the two tasks before you start this spell that I want you to start immediately. This spell is a legendary spell called the dime spell, and it works like a charm. It works wonderfully. Now, if you're in a country that doesn't have dimes, then you can use any small coin. Now, if you're in a country that doesn't have coins, then use some sort of small cash currency, whatever very small cash currency is for this spell. Don't use big denominations of money. If you're in America, you don't have to use dimes. You could use a nickel, you could use a penny. The reason why the dimes were used is because back in the day, dimes actually had silver in them. So it was considered one of the more mystical of our coins. But you can use anything. The spell is designed to help you build a fortune, and it works. We're going to think about everything in this spell in terms of tens. Once you have $1 extra, then your next goal will be to have $10 extra in the month. If you have $10 extra in the month, then your next goal will be 10 times that, will be $100 extra. If you have $100 extra, then you're going to have $1,000 be your next goal extra. If you have $1,000 extra every month, then you'll have $10,000 be your goal extra every month. Do you see? So wherever you are, your goal magically is to, first of all, start off with some extra, with some surplus, and do a very small amount of some surplus. If you're always in debt, or if you always don't have anything, you're going to say, no, I always have $1. I always have $1 more than I need. And then you'll go from there, 10 times whatever my extra is. You've got $100 million extra, then your next goal would be $1 billion. If you have $1 billion on hand, you probably don't need the dime spell. It's probably not something that you need to be doing. Your finances are fine as far as extra. So you can work some other kind of magic. So start with where you are, and then you're going to create your spell to reach your next step on the fortune ladder. Once you reach that goal, then you'll aim for the next one on the fortune ladder. There's no right or wrong. There's no one better or worse rung to be on the fortune ladder. But the first goal is to just get into some extra. And then you're going to go from tens up each month or each year, however long it takes. It doesn't matter. So here's how it works. The dime spell. So you need to keep track of the dime spell. So you'll use your book of fortune to do that. You'll have a section in your book of fortune just dedicated to whatever your current dime spell is. You can also have a tiny little book that's just for the dime spell that you keep with the spell if you'd prefer, but I just keep everything in the book. First thing you're going to need, in addition to a place to write things down, like we just said, is a box or a bag or a jar or some other kind of container to hold a fair amount of coins, or if you don't have coins, bills. Choose something beautiful that you can decorate to look prosperous. Include symbols of either Jupiter or the sun. Use purples or use golds, greens. You want to have an opulent, beautiful box. If you don't have a beautiful box, you can take any old box, old cigar box or whatever you have, and make it gorgeous by lining it with green or purple or gold felt or paper, using hot glue. You can paint and add little symbols, attach talismans, decorate it with semi-precious stones, whatever you can. You don't want to spend extra money on this because that's defeating the purpose right now, but you do want to do something to make it as pretty as you can. Or maybe you can find, like I did, I just had some old gift boxes, some really nice, beautiful gift boxes that were gold in color, and I didn't have to do anything to them. I just repurposed them because they were so pretty. First thing you want to do is consecrate your box or your bag or your jar according to the normal methods of consecration. And once you have your dime spell box, then we proceed with the spell. You perform this spell each and every day until you reach your goal. For instance, if you always have $10, your next goal, remember, is $100 extra. So you're going to perform this dime spell to empower you towards your next fortune goal on the fortune ladder. Ideally, you start the spell on a new moon, and you start by putting a single dime in the box on the first day. And then in that section in your book of shadows for the dime spell, or if you have a separate book that you're keeping in the box, you write down the date and 10 cents. And then you write down next to that the total in the box. So your first day, you put in 10 cents, and the total in your box is 10 cents. That's your first entry that day. Every day, you will add the same amount as the day before plus another dime. So the first day you put in 10 cents, and you say, deposited 10 cents, total 10 cents. Day 2, add the same amount as the day before plus one dime. That would be 30 cents. You would put in your 20 cents from the day before plus another dime. That's 30 cents, and you put down what the total is in the box. Keep doing this each and every day where you add the same amount as you added before plus a dime and put the total of everything in the box, even if you have to count the dimes, and you keep a running total of what's in the box. And you just keep doing this every day until you reach your goal. If your goal was having an extra $100, then once you've got $100 in your box, then you're done. If your goal was $1,000, once you've got $1,000 in the box, you're done by adding an extra dime every day. Now, that sounds easy, but remember, you're adding how much you put in the day before plus another dime. You're going to hit a point where it's just too much for you to keep adding more money. That's okay. You either reach your goal or you reach a ceiling. Once you reach your ceiling, you just can't put in that much money. You just don't have it. That's fine. You make a note in your list of where you maxed out, and you simply start over again with a single dime. And you put in a dime and you start over again, but you add it to whatever you've accumulated. So the next day you come back and you start with a dime. And then you add what was accumulated and you say, I put in one dime, total in the box is $17 or whatever it is. And then the next day you put in what you did the day before plus another dime. So you put in 20 cents and you write that down. And then the next day you put in the 20 cents from the day before plus an extra dime. So you put in another 30 cents and you write down how much is accumulated in the box. And you keep going until you either get to your goal or you hit a ceiling and you can't do it anymore. You write down, I hit a ceiling. And then you start again the next day with a dime. Eventually you will accumulate the amount of money that you're wanting. But that's not the point. The point is that you are programming your deep mind with the idea of increase, exponential increase. And you're going to notice that you don't need the dimes in the box anymore to be what brings you that extra $100 fortune or that extra $1,000 fortune. Your whole life starts to change so that you have more money coming in. Now, some people, a dime is too expensive and they can't do a dime spell, but they can do a penny spell. And you can do a penny version of it. Some people really want to go for it and they have a little bit more money and they want to do a quarter spell or they will do a dollar spell. That's totally up to you. But the dime spell is how I learned it. Just make sure that you understand that you keep adding to that box based on where you are in your own cycle. So you start off with a single dime. The next day, you add the same amount as the day before plus another dime, and you keep track of the total in the box. And you keep going until you either reach your financial goal of fortune, which is an extra whatever, an extra $10, an extra $100, an extra $1,000, or you hit a ceiling and you just can't put that much money in the box. Either way is fine. Make a note of it in your book of fortune. Okay, here's a couple of important ideas. Convert the money in the box that's accumulating to paper money as soon as possible, because you don't want to bring in tons of dimes to the bank because they'll charge you or they'll refuse you, or you'll have to use one of those coin changers that charge you. So if you have about $1 in there, go ahead and turn that into a paper dollar and put that dollar in the box. Allow yourself to not have to pay fees to convert those coins to dollars. That's very important. A lot of people say that you should always leave the money in the box and don't spend it. I don't agree with that. This is for you. You can deposit it in the bank. You can do anything you want with the money that's accumulated once you've reached your goal. Once you've reached your goal, then that particular phase of that dime spell is over and you can spend the money. But then when you're ready to go to the next rung, you start the spell over again. So if you're trying to get an extra $10 for yourself, then you just keep going until you've got $10 accumulated either in the box or in your daily money flow. That's why it's important to record your money flow, because it doesn't have to be that it's what's accumulated necessarily in the box. But if you have manifested an extra $10 in your positive money flow, then you've hit your goal and that spell is over. If your goal was an extra $100, once you hit that goal, whether it's with the money in the box or in general that you've recorded in your money flows section in your book of fortune, then that spell is completed. And then you can go on to the next rung. Okay, now it's time for an extra 1,000. Now it's time for an extra 10,000. Now it's time for an extra 100,000. It's always in increments of 10, which is why we like to use the dimes, because those are increments of 10 as well. And so once you get used to using that magic number of increase 10, your deep mind takes that ball and runs with it. And you start noticing increase upon increase upon increase. And you can stay with this dime spell indefinitely. But remember, you're going to start it over each time you're starting a new rung on your fortune ladder. And those rungs are always in increments of tens. If dollars are not your currency, that's fine. Then it's 10 pounds or 10 euros or whatever it is. If you're on a negative cash flow that you've discovered, then you're going to start off with, I want an extra $1. I want $1. I want to be positive $1. That's your goal. As soon as you're positive $1, then your next goal is, I want to be positive $10. Then your next goal is, I want to be positive $100. Each rung is by 10. And each rung can have this dime spell be used as the catalyst to bring you up on that next level of financial fortune. So I hope that makes sense. It's a very powerful process. It sounds a little complicated at first, but once you get into the swing of things, it's so simple, it's so easy, and people that work it love it because they see real results. Enjoy it, and there's never any reason for you to feel like you are forced to go beyond what's comfortable as far as putting something in that box, because like we said, as soon as it gets uncomfortable, you stop and you start from one dime again. If you can't afford one dime, switch it to a penny versus a dime. I hope that you enjoy this amazing process, and I expect that you will start to have amazing financial fortune very quickly by working with these ideas. Thank you so much for working with me, and I hope you've enjoyed a witch's primer as much as I have enjoyed doing this revisiting of a witch's primer. And we will see you on our Facebook group, on our Discord server, and in the chat threads of our streams. Thank you so much for being with me. Until next time, blessed be.